I'll be the director.
Okay, perfect.
In the director's chair.
Hey guys, it's Paige, and today's topic is bearded dragons. So in this video, we are going to cover just the basic care for bearded dragons and what kind of habitat they should have. Oh, he's smiling. I don't know if you can see, but he's smiling. This is Eddie. He's going to be the star of the show today. So we're going to start with the kind of cage and cage size that they should have. For a full-grown bearded dragon, recommended is a 40-gallon breeder tank, which just means that instead of the width being like a typical 1 foot-ish, it'll be deeper, like wider. So the next thing is substrate. Now there are a few different options. The first one being just newspaper, easy to clean up, very affordable. The next option is reptile carpet. So then you need to actually wash it whenever you clean the cage. The third option that is most common is sand, like reptile sand. Now that's not recommended for young bearded dragons because they can accidentally eat it when they're trying to eat their food. But for older bearded dragons, it's okay. Like Eddie's on sand, and he does okay. So moving on with cage accessories, you need to have a hiding spot for your bearded dragon so that he can go and hide and feel safe whenever he wants. You could have multiple hiding spots, would be good. You can also have like branches for him to climb on because although they're not an arboreal species, which means they like live in the trees, they do enjoy climbing on stuff. And it's also an added benefit to have stuff they can climb up onto by their heat source. For heat and light, you will need either a heat and UV light or a UV light and then a separate heat lamp. Bearded dragons are daytime animals, and so they do need to get UV light to be able to function properly. And they also need heat, and that helps because they're cold-blooded animals, and heat helps them digest their food, and I mean, they just need heat. Now, they do make bulbs that are both heat and UV. They are more expensive, but UV lights are expensive to start with. Now, you will need to replace your UV light every 6 months because after about 6 months, the UV qualities of it start to diminish. So as for placement of your lights, the UV light can be spread across the whole cage if you have like a more fish tank style UV light. That would be fine, but if you just have like a light bulb, like a singular little bulb, then you will want to put it on the side that the heat is so that when they go up to bask in the heat, they also get the light. Now you want the lights, or the heat light specifically, to be on one side of the cage so that there will be a hot side and a cool side. When it comes to food, bearded dragons are omnivores just like us, which means they need some fruit, vegetable, and animal/insect matter to consume. So as for vegetables, you need a wide variety, and you can also throw in some fruits. There are a lot of lists out there. You can just Google bearded dragon diet. There's a lot of lists of good and bad fruits and vegetables for them. Just a variety, though, is beneficial. When it comes to insects, the best insect out there is definitely dubia roaches. They come in different sizes. Depending on the size of your bearded dragon, you want to make sure that their food is smaller than the space between their eyes. Otherwise, it can cause impaction, and you don't want to be impacted, do you? No. So dubia roaches are definitely the most protein-packed insect for them. My personal choice, based on my dislike of insects, would be superworms. Superworms are just larger mealworms that never metamorphosize into beetles. So that's definitely a benefit, is that they're worms for their whole life. Mealworms are another option, but that would be more aimed towards the younger bearded dragons because they'd have to eat so many to get a good meal from them. What I do not recommend are crickets, because crickets tend to have the least nutritional value, And with all of these insects, you should gut load them before you feed them, which means feed them a bunch of healthy stuff so that the bearded dragon can get a bunch of healthy stuff when they eat them. When they're younger, they should get more insects than vegetables, or more equal. They should get a lot of insects because they need the protein because they're growing. And then adults need less insects because they're already full grown, and so they should definitely be getting more vegetables than insects. If this is an ideal pet for you, they are definitely friendly most of the time. Aren't you friendly? You are. The only negative, well, there's a few negatives. We'll go over the negatives first. They can be expensive because you do need to replace their UV bulbs every 6 months, and they can be about $50 a bulb. So if that's not a big deal for you, then great. But if you're like a teenager or a kid looking to get a bearded dragon and your parents aren't going to pay for everything, you really have to think about how much it's going to cost. The other negative thing is that you have to feed them the live insects every day. So it can be kind of hard to get and keep live insects if you're not in an area that has a lot of pet stores that carry live insects. You can always like breed your own crickets, but like I said, crickets aren't very healthy, and if you're breeding your own, they can tend to stink. Isn't that right? You could also breed your own dubia roaches or your mealworms. Superworms? I don't know, because they never turn into beetles. So do your research on the type of food you want and how you're going to be able to keep the food, or if you're going to buy it, or if you're going to breed your own insects. But they are a very nice beginner reptile for the fact that they are so docile, would be the word I would use. And they're relatively easy to care for. If you have any other questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.